I didn't just push him away, I practically threw him out of my life. And the worst part? I didn't even realize what I was losing until it was too late. The moment was raw, intense, and right in front of our friends. I looked him in the eyes and told him, "Do as I say, or pack your bags." The silence that followed was deafening. His face said everything his words didn't. It was at that moment I learned a brutal truth. People don't understand how cruel life can be until they watch the person they love the most walk away. And that's exactly what happened to me. The irony? It was entirely my fault. They say you never truly appreciate something until it's gone. I thought it was just a cliché, until my world shattered. This is about Larry and me. We were together for a year, and it felt like we had it all. We were that couple, the ones who just clicked. Our banter was effortless, sharp, and hilarious. We had a way of saying the harshest things in the funniest ways, turning arguments into laughter. But then, things changed. It started when my sister came to stay with us. She was going through a brutal breakup, and I wanted to be there for her. I ignored the red flags, let things slide, and excused behavior I normally wouldn't tolerate. She was messy, chaotically messy, but she was hurting, so I let it go. Larry, on the other hand, was losing his patience. He tried to talk to me about it. He joked about how our kitchen sink was becoming a science experiment, with the pile of unwashed dishes. I laughed it off. His humor was one of the things I loved most about him. I told him to give her time, but time didn't fix anything. Larry was the one constantly cleaning, scrubbing, making sure our place wasn't a disaster. His frustration was bubbling beneath the surface, and then one evening, it exploded. I walked into our home to hear him shouting. My heart dropped. I thought something terrible had happened. But when I rushed inside, I found Larry standing in the flooded kitchen, yelling at my sister while she lay on the couch, utterly unbothered. She had left the faucet running, clogged. The sink and the water had overflowed, soaking the kitchen floor. And worse, it wasn't just our problem. Water was leaking through the ceiling into our downstairs neighbor's apartment. Larry was furious. And honestly, he had every right to be. But in that moment, all I cared about was defending my sister. "You should get off her case," I snapped. His expression shifted from anger to something worse, hurt. "Are you serious?" he asked. "I'm dead serious," I shot back. He exhaled sharply, raised his hands in surrender, and walked away, to fix the mess alone. That was the moment everything changed, and the moment I unknowingly started losing him for good. The problem with always analyzing the world around me is that sometimes I get lost in my own interpretations, ones that aren't always accurate. When I saw Larry's reaction that day, I thought I had won. I saw what I believed to be surrender in his eyes. In my mind, he had submitted to me. But the truth? He was just trying to keep his anger in check. I mistook his restraint for weakness, and that misinterpretation set off a chain reaction that would eventually destroy everything between us. A week later, my sister left, but things never returned to normal. Larry became distant. The easy laughter we once shared faded into tense silence. Even after she was gone, the atmosphere between us remained heavy. And then, everything came to a head at a friend's birthday party. I had gone ahead while Larry was supposed to bring the cake. Maybe he thought he was being funny, the way we used to joke around. But when he walked in empty-handed, something inside me snapped. I didn't even excuse myself from the conversation I was having. I just marched straight over to him, my voice loud enough for everyone to hear. I grabbed his arm and pulled him aside, demanding an explanation. My tone was sharp, my words cutting, my anger unchecked. In that moment, I wasn't just upset, I was ruthless. And the worst part? I didn't even realize it. Larry looked at me, genuinely puzzled, like the thought of picking up the cake had never even crossed his mind. When I asked him again, my voice rising, I threw in a curse word, demanding to know where it was. He remained, silent, which only added fuel to the fire. I was already seething, but his quiet composure made my rage boil over. Then he finally admitted it. He had completely forgotten. He stood there, eyes locked onto mine, his stance unwavering, as if daring me to react. His calmness infuriated me. I lost it. My words turned cruel, accusing him of being unreliable, even stupid. His face tightened, his expression darkened, but he didn't retaliate. I pushed him further, taunting him, asking if he was too much of a coward to admit his mistakes. And then, just as the tension reached a breaking point, his friends burst in, carrying the cake. "Surprise!" they shouted, grinning. I froze. My face must have betrayed my shock. I turned to Larry, but his expression hadn't changed. His eyes were cold, filled with something deeper than anger, something irreversible. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, and instead of apologizing, I made a joke. I don't even remember what I said, but I remember how I felt, humiliated. I waved over the DJ, asked him to turn up the music, and slipped away, avoiding Larry for the rest of the night. But avoiding him wasn't easy. He watched me, his gaze unrelenting, like a lighthouse scanning the sea, and I was the ship trying to escape its beam. And the worst part? I didn't feel guilty, not even a little. What I felt was fear. Fear of the conversation that was bound to happen. Fear of the fallout. But no matter how much I dodged him at the party, I couldn't escape the fact that we were going home together. When the night ended, I walked out to the car, and there he was, waiting. Silent. Motionless. He looked like a hitman about to execute a mission. The darkness obscured his eyes, but I knew he was watching me. I hesitated before approaching, half expecting him to drive away and leave me there. But he didn't. He got in the car without a word, not even glancing my way. I climbed into the back seat, too afraid to sit beside him. The ride home was suffocatingly quiet. He didn't speak, and I didn't dare break the silence. I thought maybe he would forget. Maybe with time, it would just fade away. But it didn't. And instead of apologizing, I buried it. I shoved it so deep inside me that it festered. And the next time it resurfaced, it was even uglier. It happened at a family gathering. Larry hadn't wanted to go. We fought about it earlier that day. I tried everything to convince him, even accused him of not loving me, of not prioritizing me. The truth was, he never felt comfortable around my family, especially my mother. She had a habit of bringing up my exes in front of him, as if to remind him he wasn't good enough. Months ago, he had finally confronted her about it, and since then, they hadn't spoken. I knew this, but I didn't care. I just wanted him there, and so eventually he agreed. From the moment we stepped inside, I could feel the eyes on him. It was like watching a lion walk into a den of hyenas. Larry stayed quiet, sitting off to the side while I laughed and joked with my family, pretending everything was fine. But when we sat down for dinner, the tension was unbearable. Unbearable. That was the only way to describe Larry's presence at the dinner table, seated between my sister and me, directly across from my mother. The sharp glances exchanged across the table could have cut through steel. No one had forgotten. The past, and the air was thick with unspoken resentment. Larry's gaze bore into my mother, bitter and unwavering, after she deliberately skipped his plate while serving everyone else. He had to serve himself, and instead of addressing the blatant slight, I whispered for him to stop looking at her like that. His face twisted in pure disbelief. But the most dramatic moment of the night came when my sister stood up and suddenly lost her balance. She fell backward, arms flailing. Larry reached out to catch her, but it was too late. She hit the ground hard and burst into tears. Family members rushed to her side, including Larry, who knelt beside her, concern evident in his face. He gently asked if she could see him clearly, holding up 2 fingers and waiting for her response. Before she could answer, I yanked him away, by his shirt, fury clouding my vision. "You let her fall on purpose," I spat. His face contorted in shock. "What? What are you talking about?" I let out a bitter laugh, my anger boiling over. "Don't act innocent. You still hold a grudge against her for what happened to our house. This was your twisted way of getting revenge." Larry shook his head, exasperated. "Your uncle was on the other side too. He didn't catch her either. Why am I the only one being blamed?" He sighed, realization dawning on his face. "You've joined your mother, haven't you? Ready to sabotage me at every turn." My mother, instead of diffusing the situation, doubled down. "He could have caught her, but he didn't." Larry's face hardened, his disappointment deeper than words could express. Without another word, he turned and walked out of the house. I should have let him go. I should have calmed down and waited until we were alone. But I didn't. When we got home, Larry was waiting for me, his posture tense, his eyes blazing. What the hell was that back there? Exhausted, I brushed him off. "I'm too tired for this." His disbelief was palpable. "Too tired? For a fight you started?" The argument exploded from there, accusations flying, voices raised, both of us refusing to back down. When he saw we were going in circles, he just walked out. For 2 days, we didn't speak. A first in our relationship. The silence was unbearable. Then our friend Brittany showed up. She took one look at us and suggested a night out at a party, claiming we needed a change of scenery. I had no intention of going, but then I heard Larry ask, "Who's going to be there?" I turned to him, stunned. He was actually considering it. Brittany, sensing an opening, listed his closest friends. I saw the moment he gave in. "All right," he said. She turned to me next. I refused. I wasn't going. Minutes later, they left together. At first, I stayed home, but my mind wouldn't let me rest. I kept picturing them, laughing, drinking, enjoying themselves. Then, a darker thought crept in. Brittany used to have a massive crush on Larry. She claimed she had moved on. But what if she hadn't? The idea of them alone at a party sent me into a panic. I sprang from my bed, threw on an outfit, and rushed out. When I arrived, my worst fears were confirmed. Larry was there, drink in hand, laughing harder than he had in weeks. Brittany was right beside him, her hand lightly grazing his arm. Fury surged through me. I stormed over. "Larry!" He turned, confused. "What?" I was shaking with emotions I couldn't even name. Rage, jealousy, humiliation. "We're leaving. Now." He didn't move. "No." The refusal stung like a slap. "If you don't come home right now, pack your bags. You're done." Larry let out a low, humorless chuckle. Then, he looked me dead in the eyes and said, "I've tolerated you for the last time." That was the moment everything changed. After the party, he didn't argue. He didn't plead. He just packed his things and left. I stood in the doorway, waiting for him to turn around, waiting for him to say something. Anything. But as he walked away, I screamed, "If you leave now, don't ever come back." He stopped, turned slightly. Then, with an icy finality, he said, "Why would I come back to hell?" Days passed. I waited for him to call, to come back, to apologize. He never did. A week turned into 2. Nothing. Desperate, I tracked him down and showed up at his door. Before I could even get a word out, he shut me down. "I never want to see you again." This was the same man who once swore he couldn't imagine life without me. And now, he wouldn't even look me in the eye. Mutual friends refused to intervene. Even my own family had given up. And now, I'm left with nothing but silence and regret. because this time, there is no going back.